This is my World Studies Module 5 Be the Teacher Learner's Challenge. To start is monarchies. There are two main monarchies used throughout the world, although there are more types, but the two main ones are, first, absolute monarchies. These are monarchies in which one supreme ruler has almost total control over a nation. These were originally used during feudal eras where an absolute monarchy strengthened feudalism. And in these, rulers assumed divine right to rule, which led to resistance in some cases. These are some countries that use absolute monarchies: Saudi Arabia, Oman, Brunei, and the Vatican City. The second type is constitutional monarchies. The difference between these and absolute monarchies are that in constitutional monarchies, they have both a monarch and a government system in which the power of the monarch is somewhat limited. In some cases, completely limited. Like in some cases, they're pretty much just a ceremonial leader. And in many cases, they're developed to give more rights to citizens as well as more powers to the separate government system. Some examples that currently are constitutional monarchies are Great Britain, Spain, and Thailand. Here's how England became a constitutional monarchy. So James I, the king at one point, firmly believed in divine right of kings, which is basically like the king believes that he has, from the creator, he was given the power and the right to rule. And so he basically dismissed Parliament, and his son, or his successor, rather, I don't know if he was actually his son, but his successor, Charles I, was the same way. He had the same beliefs. And after Charles I ignored Parliament's requests twice, Parliament became somewhat resistant, and they were like, we should probably abolish this and set up a constitutional monarchy. I forgot to write that, but anyways, after Oliver Cromwell led an army to abolish the rule of Charles I, Parliament restored Charles II as monarch. But after some worrying decisions from James II, which was the successor of Charles II, Parliament made Mary and William ruler, and under them they created a Declaration of Rights, which gave Parliament more power, as well as more rights to the citizens of England. Next is the scientific revolution. Before the 16th century in Europe, many fundamental ideas and topics of science were backed by the church, and very few dared to defy them. However, during the scientific revolution, many of these ideas were questioned and challenged by a growing number of scientists. These ideas conflicted with the church and got many scientists punished or even killed. However, these new ideas also changed how people thought about the world and allowed for many important discoveries and inventions. These were some scientific revolutionary thinkers or inventors discovered, whatever. It could be philosophers, astronomers, or a lot of different things. But anyways, Copernicus theorized the heliocentric solar system, which was basically the system in which all the planets of the solar system revolved around the sun, which was contrary to the current system in which the Earth, the sun revolved around the Earth. Descartes studied analytical geometry, which Newton used in many of his studies, and said to doubt everything was the best way to further study it and understand it. Newton was very important. He developed a lot of theories about many topics such as gravity, physics, light, optics, and astronomy. Mary Winkelmann Kirch made many astronomical advancements, such as discovering a comet. What is the significance of the scientific revolution? Well, the scientific revolution, although it occurred centuries ago, made possible many important discoveries and inventions of modern times. For example, the microscope. Current microscopes used today, such as electron microscopes, which can view singular electrons, are used today, and they are used in the study of many areas of research such as biology and chemistry. But their scientific revolution influence was that the first compound microscope was developed during the scientific revolution by Zacharias Janssen. Next is the James Webb Space Telescope. This telescope allows us to view very deep into space, into our galaxy, and even like farther into the universe. Galileo invented an optimized early version of the telescope with further magnification, and this, you can just kind of see how it's constantly a series of like upgrading. Like, he didn't even invent the first telescope, but he upgraded it, and it gets further and further until you get to this level, and it will go even further. And in science in general, during the scientific revolution, Bacon popularized inductive reasoning, which is a very similar method to the method currently used today, which is the scientific method, which is used by scientists all over the world. Next is the Enlightenment. The European Enlightenment was another period of significant European change, and here are some key figures and ideas from the movement. So Thomas Hobbes came up with the idea of the social contract, and his major work was Leviathan. John Locke came up with the idea of consent of the governed, or popular sovereignty, and his major work was Two Treatises of Government. Montesquieu came up with the idea of 3 different branches of government: legislative, executive, and judiciary, and his major work was The Spirit of the Laws. And Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed that humans were naturally good but were corrupted by society, and his major work was On the Social Contract. The effects of the Enlightenment, on America, there were a great deal of influence from the revolutionaries on the British colonies of America. So James Madison took influence from the writings of Montesquieu when framing the 3 branches of government in the U.S. Constitution. Founding fathers Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin spent time in France and were likely influenced by Enlightenment thinkers there. Hobbes and Locke's ideas of a social contract and consent of the governed influenced the writers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in the U.S. Finally is the French Revolution. One of the main causes of the French Revolution was the heavy taxation of the lower and middle classes. The need for extra money for France was due to many things. One of these things was, France both influenced through enlightened thinkers like Montesquieu and supported the American Revolution because they despised Britain, and they wanted to anyways, they donated much of their money to Americans to revolt against the British and create their own government in their own country, and this put them in a lot of debt. The French government had also been put in much debt from money borrowed during the 7 Years' War, in which they also lost a lot of territory. What happened during the French Revolution? Well, it started with the storming of Bastille, in which a mob stormed a fortress prison, and they freed the prisoners in that building, and they dismantled the building in a few days. After this, French citizens and members of the Third Estate began to take control, and they published the Declaration of Rights of Man and of the Citizen, and they forced King Louis to sign that constitution, but it became clear that he was not willing to give up his power. After this started the Reign of Terror, and to take and maintain control, a period started in which those who supported the monarchy or who were even slightly against the revolution were to be beheaded. Afterwards, a new government called the Directory formed, and this lasted for 4 years until the Napoleonic era started. Thank you for listening.